Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, May 7th for the City of Hudson. The meeting is now called to order. First item on the agenda is discussion and possible action on the April 16th, 2015 minutes. You have your 12 pages. Any questions, comments, or changes?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, discussion and possible action on final development plans for Panda Express Restaurant, 2200 Badger Drive, northeast corner of Crestview Drive and Badger Drive, Panda Express Restaurant Group. Mr. Darnold.
For the general site plan for, this is Crestview Drive and Badger Drive, supposed to be at the northeast quadrant of Crestview and Badger. The access point will be well back from the intersection. During the concept, we had staff had concerns in regards to the internal traffic pattern. So that's been readdressed. There's just a real minor one down here, maybe, but it'd be relatively minor, maybe just widening that a little bit. Other issues, there's a couple of minor stormwater issues that need to be addressed. But other than that, the final development plans are in good shape. Landscaping plan, recommend approval. You should have colored copies of the building perspectives. Okay. Jason, you have any comments, or? This is Mr. Jason Stucker. He's one of the project design team members.
Anyone have any questions?
No.
So recommend approval. One, just address the stormwater, then in regards to any letter of assurance or surety considerations for restoration of boulevards and so forth. And we'll get that estimate, city engineer will get that estimate out for them.
Well, then I'll move to approve with all stipulations that Denny has raised to be resolved, upon approval, ultimate approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, discussion, possible action on final development plans, Hampton Inn and Suites, 83 units, 2610 Pearson Drive, south of Pearson Drive and west of Center Drive, American Construction Services, Inc.
Mr. Alan Peschpool is here tonight representing the hotel project. Alan, do you want to go ahead and just review what changes were made from the concept plan review and that? This is Mr. Alan Peschpool.
Wanted to apologize. Craig Sedonico with American Design wasn't able to make it tonight, so I'll be just kind of filling in. There again, Hampton Inn and Suites, 4-story, 83 units. You've got the Perkins here, and what's up next would be the strip center retail out front. We made just some internal property line changes. Parking counts really all stay the same. We're in the process of addressing the city engineer's kind of final comments, and also in regards to stormwater. I apologize in getting some comments addressed on that, but everything is fine. I'm just digging through old original Banterra design folders to get all that SEH.
So there's, again, this is the Hampton Inn. Next door or adjacent parcel is the what's being referred to as the Banterra, the commercial maybe. Basically, we've been reviewing both site plans. I'd recommend approval, again, with stormwater being finalized by the city engineer, making sure that we're comfortable with that. And then secondly, any surety bonds in regards to curb gutter, boulevard restorations. You should have covered elevations of the buildings. Yes,
I have a
sir.
question for you. For the hotel parking, with this, I'm gonna call it the side designated area or the area east of Perkins, is that part of the hotel parking area, or can in front of the hotel or to the west accommodate all the guests of the hotel?
the entire parcel is going to be shared parking easements and agreements. David and Brian, that is their like I said, lot 10. So that'll be all cross-access easements.
So if the
Yeah.
hotel is chock full, that means there'll be people parking?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
The restaurant.
Yeah, they can park wherever. I'm gonna come up. So.
well, yeah, just to answer your question, Fred, they meet the code requirements as far as the amount of off-street parking for the hotel.
Okay.
But because they have cross easements between the three entities, Perkins, the hotel, and the commercial center, they're allowed to overflow into other areas when necessitated.
So the good thing is that if one's extra busy, they'll have more space to park in other places. And the way we've structured the tenants, they shouldn't all be busy at the same times,
Right.
okay?
Well, I figured they
Perkins
were
isn't
gonna do
busy
it
in the-
anyway, and that's why I asked the question,
Right,
so.
yep, they're gonna do it anyway, so, and we are setting up as a condominium, and those will all be limited common areas, so people can park anywhere, okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve with the restrictions that Mr. Darnell put in,
I'll make the motion to approve.
It's just for the Hampton
right?
Inn. Okay.
And I'll second that again with the stipulations.
Okay. Any other discussions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we'll move on to the, thank you. We'll move on to discussion and possible action on final development plans for Banterra Lot 10, retail 10,918 square foot building, 1028 Pearson Drive, east and south of Pearson Drive, Banterra Holdings LLC. I think, go ahead.
Representatives of Banterra Holdings is here tonight. Mr. Dan Burnham and Alan Catchpool are here. Do you have boards, Dan, that you brought, or as far as, I mean, you have this, but did you have any up for the building itself? If there's any changes, go over what? Sure. Re-reviewing.
I guess overall, not a lot changed from our previous commission meeting. We added a little bit of change in color in what we're gonna call the backside, the side facing the hotel. But otherwise, it's the same materials as all the other buildings we've done in the development with the brick and the stucco.
Again, the
Glass.
front will face west,
Yes.
okay? Questions?
What will be done to shield, where will the garbage be held? Canisters, all the gas hookups, all that kind of stuff, where is that gonna be? Is it, if it showed on the prints, I didn't see them, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a separate dumpster enclosure that has the same materials as we're putting on the building, just like all the other enclosures we've got in the development. We've got some kind of gates where we're gonna have the electric meters and gas meters and all that hidden behind these gates, so you won't see them from the road when you're driving by.
Or from the hotel.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Is there adequate parking here, Danny, potentially for the capacity of the building and?
Correct, yeah.
Any plans for any potential outside patio type areas? I mean, I know it depends on tenants, but
Not at the moment.
not at the moment, thank you.
You mentioned that the garbage areas will be on the ends of the building?
No, our electrical and gas meters are at the end of the building, the garbage is detached from the rest
Okay,
of the
because I
building.
saw a drive-through space on each end.
Yep.
Can you go back to the site plan showing, Dan, where that?
We've got the dumpsters over here adjacent to the parking and our gas meters and electric meters on either end.
If you looked at the other places in that development, it's well screened and put aside well, I mean, it's done well.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Did Mary Claire, did you have a motion, or did I misunderstand?
I did not, but I would make a motion.
All right,
Move to approve. Jenny, did you have any other?
Same consideration,
Same sca-
stormwater, and then secondly, the assurances.
Move to approve with Denny's other considerations that need yet to be resolved.
is there a second?
Yes.
Any other discussions or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 has been pulled for tonight. Item 7, discussion possible action on application for rezoning part of property known as the Hudson Golf Club, located north of Cooley Road and west of Carmichael Road, R1, one family residential district, to PRD Plan Residential District and B2 General Business District, and to amend the 2009 City of Hudson Comprehensive Plan to change the land use designations from recreational commercial to 1 and 2 family residential, medium density residential, and commercial development, or commercial, general commercial. Hanson Brothers 12. Darnold.
Yeah, representing these Hanson Brothers, 12, and Hudson Homes. John, did you bring your board for the, maybe? At the last meeting, a lot of discussion centered around whether the commercial area would be acceptable to the planning commission, where there'd be support for it or not. And John and I talked about private covenants or use restrictions. And I did have a discussion with our city attorney, and I went over several options with the city attorney in regards to zoning considerations. First, of course, is the actual application itself, which basically asks for this area, because this area is already zoned PRD. This area is already zoned PRD, so it's this area, oops, excuse me, take out the commercial. This area would be zoned for PRD, planned residential development, and this area, the 27 acres, is being requested for the B2 General Business District. As I expressed before, I have some concerns on the zoning as it being the B2 General Business due to the dimensional standards. There's a conversation in regards to where a developer would offer private covenants or restricted uses. City attorney and I agree that we really, if you zone the property, you're entitled to the dimensional standards. And if there be any volunteering, the city attorney acknowledges that the developer can put more restrictive considerations on, but that would be after the fact consideration. And I've always felt that due to the more unique considerations, very similar for the residential development. The reason you go to a planned residential development, there's generally unique enough conditions, slopes, so forth, to allow a negotiated project. I've suggested, I think from the very beginning, that the planned commercial district, which again is negotiated, if the planning commission feels comfortable with commercial, that would be our suggestion. In review of that, the city attorney and I really do not feel comfortable with the planning commission recommending the B2 General Business District. So that my next question, I kind of went in a sequential fashion of how these could be considered. Second one, okay, can we substitute the planned commercial development for the B2 in this zoning process without having to go back for hearings? The recommendation, if the planning commission is willing to support commercial considerations, that we'd substitute the PCD, the planned commercial district. City attorney feels that we went through the public hearing process with the B2, and that the due process is basically, so if we would consider a potential review in the future, then they'd have to go back and start that process over on the planned commercial district. The city could potentially or the plan commission potentially could recommend the zoning for the planned residential development and not recommend the zoning for the B2 and leave it as single-family residential. We talked about that, and the city attorney had some concerns in regards to that, about the totality of the property, you know, and her feeling was if there was some willingness for the city to review the planned commercial development in the future, that maybe the planned residential and that also, or the B2 ought to be denied, and then come back and start the process over with the two planned unit development considerations. We review those at the same time. But really the bottom line here is what's the comfort level of the planning commission for any type of commercial development there. It seems to be that there was some concern that maybe commercial development shouldn't exist there at all. I feel comfortable in allowing the commercial development in that area under the PCD, the Planned Commercial District, which would allow us to negotiate, set dimensional standards, set uses. And what you saw on your table tonight was a list of uses and restrictions that were proposed by Hanson Brothers. That would be, if we went back and looked at the plan, that would be kind of a threshold to start looking at those dimensional standards. Now, one consideration, and part of the reason I feel strongly about the commercial is that I think they've got to get enough return on their investment here to get that road built from basically the extension of Walnut and going up to the intersection. There's got to, you know, and the road I'm talking about is this. Not, you know, not, because otherwise, if this is an internal road system, and basically we may be forcing more of the traffic into this residential area. If this is a public street and, you know, we work that out as part of the planned commercial district, then, and this can be commercial, then I just think they have a better opportunity as far as their investment in recouping that consideration. So I'm going to be quiet and let John, I don't know if you got any particular comments, or Jeff, Deb, on your feelings on. Go ahead, John. Yeah, you're more than welcome.
You can either go to the podium or you can come up here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. John Rask with Hans Hagen Homes. From our last meeting, we've had an opportunity to visit with Mr. Darnold about some conditions. We understand what the, I guess, conditions related to the commercial and how that could be structured to make, provide for certain uses and dimensional standards that would make sure that the commercial is compatible with the residential and that we get the appropriate transitions established. We understand the city attorney's opinion in terms of the procedural process of this. I guess there are a lot of issues that would have to get worked out with the PRD, and I think that's the, or the PCD, and I think that's the appropriate process, and we're not opposed to doing that if that's the procedure we need to follow. The, I guess in terms of the overall project, we'd ask if the commission is comfortable with the residential portion, that you would advance that portion to the council with an approval, and then note that the commercial would have to come back. The underlying zoning, of course, on this parcel is R1, so I assume if we don't rezone a portion of it, it remains R1. So it would be establishing a PRD R1, but we'd also be looking, I guess if the commission's so inclined, would be to signal to us what your intent is on this land use. Recognizing it has to go to the council likely have some additional input on this. So if you're inclined to look favorably upon a planned commercial district, we'd like to hear that tonight. And conversely, if you don't like it, we'd like to hear that too, because that affects the entire project, because the two really have to work together. So
if it goes forward, with the partial approval, partial denial, we'd still like to understand, I guess, the direction from the commission on what you think about the general land use. I know there's a lot of details about uses and standards and height, and that's all addressed at a later date, but if we could get some indication as to the broad land use issue, question of the appropriateness of some commercial here, I guess that's what we'd be looking for.
Just from my point of view, thank you, John. I think our job tonight is to decide whether or not we think the residential development makes sense or not. Either it does or it doesn't, and we have to make that recommendation, whether it fits to what we want to do. We've talked about the path, the bike paths that come through here, and they will be installed by the developer. And this will be his land, it won't be a city park. Am I right, John? So the maintenance and all the ability of this particular piece of parcel of land will be the responsibility of the residential area.
Always, or is there like a cap on that? Is it gonna be like a
Always.
Red Cedar
It's not
Canyon
ours.
concept, is
Well, it's a private lot.
It's a
private land?
lot, yes.
Perfect, okay.
If I'm misstating anything, John, you can tell me.
As you know, it's not our preference, but.
I know that.
That's an issue that I think we can certainly.
We can, that's what I'm proposing. We can talk about it. And then the other side, from my perspective, the planned commercial development makes a whole lot more sense in the B2. I think what Catherine has said tonight makes a lot of sense. And I don't have a problem if the commission agrees or not agrees, or agrees that we can approve the residential development and leave this until we get to do the hearing, a public hearing again on the planned commercial development. So I guess we've been looking at this thing for a long time. And again, I think we need to make a decision. Wanted to add one more thing. There has been no agreement as to a release of the golf course. There's 5 or 6 more years left on that agreement. We have not arrived or agreed on anything at this point. So that should not be anything to do with what we're talking about tonight. I just wanted to inform you that there's been we've had discussions, but nothing has been agreed upon.
Our city attorney, Catherine McKittrick, also asked me to reiterate that even though you would forward a recommendation, the common council could rezone the property, but until the restrictive covenants are removed, those are still binding.
Okay, yes.
I just have a question, and maybe it's an inference that I've drawn wrong here, but I have to ask it. It's hinted that if the planned commercial and/or commercial business district is not approved, the whole development might not fly, or it wouldn't work, or it's not economically feasible. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has felt that in what we've heard, and of course, I'm curious about that statement. I mean, without having that commercial, does that stop the residential? I mean,
Jeff, why don't you answer that question? I can't answer that.
Jeff Redmond, thank you for considering us again tonight. The 2 projects in the purchase agreement, we have to get a redevelopment of the whole project for any portion to go forward. That's our contractual obligations right now.
Okay. Yes, Mary?
The allowed uses, Denny, are we able to reduce this list
Sure.
even more? So,
That wouldn't be for tonight,
No.
but I'm just saying, that would be an example of the type of consideration, we could go back. If you recall what we did with Heritage Greens, where we actually had a list of uses, dimensional standards and so forth. That would be very similar to what we could do with this property.
okay, can I just ask a question
Oh,
on the list
absolutely.
then? What's the difference between an indoor theater and theater? Because you have off the list
Well,
drive-ins, so I guess I don't know what the difference is.
I think their intention is to be indoor.
Yes.
I mean, okay, so there's really no difference here. It's just-
No,
Do you have anything else, Mary, on that?
Well, I wanted to do some reductions, but I'll.
Well, yeah, but we
obviously
don't,
it's
I don't think
time.
that's for tonight.
Yeah, that's fine.
Jeff?
I just want to explain that piece of paper. At one point, we asked if we could impose restrictive covenants on top of B2, because we've always been sensitive when the commission asked about height of building. We said we'd bring that, the signs, we've tried to accommodate that. So then we came forward and said, well, here is an example of the sort of restrictions that we'd be willing to put on the property if we could move forward with B2. We're comfortable with the planned commercial development, and we're comfortable that we'll work out with the city all of those restrictions to mutual satisfaction.
And then
Okay, yep.
my other question is the medium density, you're looking at the fact that we could hold off on that and use from the comp plan if we wanted to, is from what I'm
Right,
understanding?
yeah. Let me explain why.
Yeah, I just need a little more instruction on that.
Right now, conceptually, what they're showing is this area being multiple family residential. Typically, in our comp plan, what we would do is designate general commercial, 1 and 2 family, multiple family. What I'm thinking is we'd take the multiple family out, at least at this point in time. I'm not saying we're disagreeing with it, but go ahead, and part of that's because of legal descriptions and locations. There's not a specific legal description for that. If we're satisfied with the residential, take everything to the 1 and 2 family. Once they come back, because this portion of the project and this part of the project's 2 different entities. This is not Hans Hagen Homes,
Oh,
okay? So that's another reason why I'm potentially suggesting that. You know, I'm not necessarily opposed to the multiple family, but this area might change somewhat, and if it's a worthy project, they bring it in. I don't know why the city would have at that time, changing the comprehensive plan at that time when we go through that.
okay, so did I miss that along, am I the only one who missed that part? That wasn't part of Hans Hagen Homes?
I didn't know that was.
Nobody did until just now.
So who will own
The
that
Hanson
parcel?
Brothers 12 would retain that.
And Hans
And are they
Hagen-
gonna keep it maintained while it's not developed, or is it gonna
Are
be,
you asking? I can't answer that question.
what?
Well, it's the old 18th Fairway.
Yeah, okay, but I guess that just isn't, I did not realize that the whole parcel was not being purchased. So is that gonna stay maintained, or is it gonna, if this goes through, or is it gonna be noxious weeds and,
No, it certainly would be maintained. You're not going to allow noxious weeds.
you say that so confidently that it
Well-
doesn't,
Well, I've known the Hansons for 20 years, and I know that they would do that. I mean, they own, you know, a strip along Carmichael that they also own, so why would they want weeds right next to their commercial property?
I
mean, they would-
understand it, but with all due respect, some of the complaints we've had at the public hearings is that they haven't been maintaining the current area, the current land now. So I find I struggle to believe, well, I suppose with their own interests now having that commercial area wanting to sell, they would maintain it, but that's why I question it, so.
Okay.
Would a planned commercial development be conditional use permitting in
Yes.
each case?
Yes.
For each
Both the
one?
residential PRD is a conditional use permit. The PCD, the planned commercial, is also a conditional use permit process where the projects are negotiated.
Kevin?
On that multiple family area, Denny, we don't have any plans, so I don't know how big it is or how many units there'd be in there. But do you think one entrance in and out of there will be sufficient?
Well,
or-
those are details we'd have to take a look at. Currently, it's about an 11-acre parcel, and there's basically what's been identified for us is 100 units. But, you know, certainly we got, you know, those are issues if we get into planned residential zoning and looking at that as multiple family, those are the design details we'd have to take a look at. Absolutely.
Well, I'm just wondering if a road should come down below and hook up with one of those internal roads.
Well, we can't design this whole project tonight, so, yeah, I mean, we'd
But
look into those public safety type issues as part of the review process and negotiation of a master plan for the development.
One of the things that we talked about, I don't know how many times, was another access. And they've given us another access here, and access that comes through here. So we've been able to gain another access point and traffic flow.
And potentially one to the north too.
Oh, absolutely.
Once that road someday comes into play.
Yep.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So on the parkland, do we have any other parkland in town that is not owned by the city that's
Well,
privately
you've got
owned?
Hudson Homes has their Red Cedar
The Red
Canyon.
Cedar is
You know, they have private property in Stone Pine. Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So the liability
It's on the residents of that development.
is on the residents, so it's a
Well,
condo.
that's why I asked if it's a private lot though. Is it a private lot or is it part of the development?
From my understanding,
Well,
we
it's-
insure it with our dues.
Well, it'd be a private lot, it'd be part of the development, private lot, but the question is, are the trails, the discussion, limited discussion on this item so far is that they'd give us easements, they would build the trails, but from that point, the city would maintain the trails. So they'd be open to the public.
Oh, city would maintain the trails, okay. that was
So
gonna
it's
be one of
open
my
to the
questions 20
public.
years from now when there's
So to say
potholes.
that the city would have no liability, no, I can't believe you can say that.
Yep. So my understanding is that we would be, the trails would be our trails to maintain and upkeep.
Which is different from Red Cedar Canyon.
Correct.
But again, that's a detail that had to be worked out, not something we're necessarily agreeing to tonight.
Mary Claire? Frank? Mary? Fred? Anybody?
So, let me
Yes,
go
sir.
back. So the position of Hanson Brothers is that everything has to go at once.
Correct.
So may I ask this question of you, Jeff? If the city says no to the B2, but leave, I think Catherine asked me to pose it this way, that the plan commission be willing to consider in the future, not recommend, but be willing to consider in the future the planned commercial development. Does that advance from your perspective or not?
It helps tonight to know, because last meeting, which I apologize, I wasn't able to be here, it was like, we'll come back with a different plan, but not a lot of guidance. So that's why we met with the mayor and Denny to talk about, well, does this plan commercial development where the city would have a say ultimately in what's in there? They'd have to specifically approve new development and not just, well, with anything that fits in B2. So that's why we've been open to that. So I would like to have comments from the plan commission that says, yes, we think that's a good plan. I understand it's not a binding thing, but, we'll file an application tomorrow to do rezoning the whole project with that as planned commercial development. We'll start the whole thing over if that's what we need to do. I'm thinking we go through the city council, so we get the city council's recommendation on this same plan. So we probably wait till, the 18th or whenever the city council. So at least we have some guidance, and we'll propose exactly what we believe the plan commission and city council was.
So you'd be bringing back a new application for both the PRD and the PCD at one time?
If you can move forward with the planned residential and we can just bring a new application for the planned commercial development, I think we'd like to get Hans Hagen's, they want to start moving dirt. So if we can advance that, great. But we won't wait till we have a developer to develop the commercial. We'll ask for the planned commercial development rezoning now as part of this whole development.
Mary Claire, you had a question?
Well, aren't we really looking for a comprehensive plan? And how this is kind of laid out? Why wouldn't we go with the two? What is missing for us?
I guess the answer to that is it's a planned commercial development. They don't know what's gonna go in there.
Right.
So I mean, there could be a movie theater, there could be, again, whatever we decide that we want. So I think the concept, if you believe in the concept, we still have to get
Conditional use permit.
conditional use permit for every location.
Every use.
Yep.
Oh, let me try to go back to Catherine's my conversation. Catherine asked if the two properties would be in separate ownership, and the answer is yes. She said, well, why wouldn't the city want to try to take them both at the same time to look at the site in its totality?
Right.
So that you're kind of, so you're knowing that the two will blend or
Right.
complement each other.
Right.
I also try to look at it from the perspective of Hans Hagen, who's willing to make an investment, moving ahead with the residential sector of this development, knowing and having the confidence that Hanson Brothers is going to come in with a product that's not going to be a negative impact on their development. So that's the balancing act between the two different considerations.
So if we were, from my perspective, we wait and we get a planned commercial development, what would we have on there that would give us more confidence, or
Right.
nothing, there isn't
Nothing.
anything?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Mary?
As far as moving dirt, it would still be considered, they would still have to wait 5 years before anything gets,
Correct.
so moving dirt as soon as possible, you guys are willing to wait 5 years if that's what if that's what ends up happening?
No, we're not willing to wait 5 years, so the covenant would have to come off in order for this to proceed. In our,
So.
for us to be involved in it, if it doesn't, then we're.
Right, so just for knowing that, but that has nothing to do with.
I
the
know it
result.
has nothing to do with rezoning, it's just, you don't know what's gonna happen with the covenant, so I just, okay.
That's a contingency.
Is the residential right now R1, or that is not a PR, that is not a,
It's R1, right?
Yeah, the entire parcel, other than the existing commercial areas, R1, one-family residential, except for the north end that was originally in Stone Pine as PRD, planned residential development. That was formerly, initially in Stone Pine, then went to the golf course. So that's the reason that zoning is the PRD on that north end. Basically where everybody's kind of talking about this quasi-park area.
Jeff, did you have a question or a comment?
I think that it was answered, thank you.
Okay.
So for clarity for me, the way I'm reading the notes here is the opinions I'm reading here is it would be best for us to come back and do planned residential and planned commercial at the same time. Where right now, the residential is just R1, as you said?
That's correct.
I happen to disagree with Catherine on that, I think what Hans Hagen is saying, are you interested in this or not? I think they want to know whether or not we want to move on or not. Nothing's going to change, I don't believe, in their section if we wait on it. At least, I don't think they're.
I had to
John, is
ask,
that fair?
I had to ask the question.
Yep,
but you, even if we moved on it as, your section is R1, Hanson Brothers won't do it unless the whole thing goes together, correct?
And we would move quickly to get that application in, so they can start, they would know that they can start doing their design. We still have a golf restriction to negotiate, and we would start the planned commercial development and start that process. But by approving the Hans Hagen, even though they aren't gonna move dirt, they then know that they can start with more intense development planning that they need to start doing. So it's helpful to move theirs along, even if we have to reapply for the planned commercial
the
development.
27 acres, yep.
That section you want as R1, not PRD.
No
No,
PRD.
PRD,
You want that as PRD.
yes.
Yeah, because R1, you have to have like, what, 1 acre lots, or
No.
you don't have to?
No, the single-family lots, 9,000 square feet and 80 feet wide,
Oh.
if you want to go down to that standard.
So I'm willing to,
You
more
know,
questions, go ahead, Dave.
Basically, the purpose of the planned residential development is to allow flexibility in design where you have land that has unique features that you really, your standard, if you want to use a worst case term, cookie cutter subdivision doesn't work. It gives you flexibility to negotiate a project and, you know, setting aside areas that maybe shouldn't be disturbed. Again, due to our sewer plan, there's slopes greater than 20%, particularly where the kind of the green area in this, some of that can't be disturbed. I mean, just, you know, we're very informed on taking that. And so those will have to be honored. And, but the planned residential district gives more flexibility to try to work with the city, having input into the design and so forth, that gives a little more flexibility on how the project could be presented.
What was Heritage Greens, may I ask?
Heritage Greens,
Or the other ones?
Heritage Greens, Stone Pine, and Red Cedar Canyon are all planned residential districts.
Thank you.
So let's cut to the chase, even though it's not part of the discussion tonight. We could move this forward or not. Council rejects the rezoning of the land, or the taking off the conditional use of the golf course, and the whole project dies.
Correct. That's my.
So when it was brought to the council, when it was misunderstood by, well, it was Randy Morissette last time, he didn't want to look at the, you know, for example, it was already looked at in his mind, not that it can't be looked at again, but, so basically we're counting on the attitude of the council changing at this point.
I don't think we had a recommendation from planning.
No.
No, we didn't, but when it was thought that we were looking at the lifting off the covenants, we were balked at, if I recall, it's already been looked at, so.
I don't know if we have. Mary, did we look at it?
No, we didn't, but I'm trying to clarify that when it was assumed that that's what we were doing. That's my concern, is that we're just gonna get balked at again. so.
Those, again, and we have not arrived at an agreement
Right.
to release that. So I think we have to proceed that there is no agreement, and this is what's been proposed, and that possibly there could be agreement in the future. Otherwise, we've sure wasted a lot of time here
Right,
and spent a lot of money.
so if you're not willing to wait 5 years, how long are you guys willing to wait? What if it takes another year?
That's probably too long as well.
Yep.
I mean, we're out of lots almost, as you know. So
Yes.
if we're gonna stay in Hudson, we've got a narrow window here. and,
Sure. Yeah, you got like 5 lots left, you're not,
It's going quick.
yeah.
So any other questions, comments, thoughts?
I'm not against the residential, even if it's R1. If we could have them come back on the commercial with planned commercial, I think that gives everything a second chance and a way to make it work. If by recommendation that it's not necessary to do that with a residential or have it come back as planned residential, I'm okay with that. Because they've been here, they've been good partners, they build nice stuff. I don't think they're gonna mess it up to make it bad. So I would be willing to come forth with a motion to that effect, R1,
No.
No.
PRD, excuse me.
It is.
Well, however it should be said.
Well.
PRD.
PRD.
Yep.
And then planned commercial, have
Well-
them resubmit, is that the right terminology?
Yeah.
And for review with, I mean, no guarantees.
I mean, the city attorney asked me to advise the planning commission that the planning commission's open to considering the planned commercial development in the future, that you're not recommending that zoning, you're only stating that you're willing to review it again. Or review it, you know, you're not recommending to the council you rezone it. What you're doing is you're making the comment to the common council that you're going to review it.
Well, correct my language then for not saying that correctly then.
So then we would review with planned commercial and the planned residential.
Well, you're gonna review the zoning of the planned commercial. If the zoning for the planned residential moves ahead, their next process is submit a conditional use permit for their master plan.
I'm okay with that.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion. Again, we are not dealing with the 27 acres of commercial at this point.
That is correct.
Well, we are saying we are open
Open to.
Open.
for,
There's gonna have to be a new application,
New app, yep.
okay?
So when would council consider the covenants on this?
A what?
When would council consider lifting the covenants? I
As
mean,
soon-
doesn't it kind of have to be coinciding? I mean,
I don't think so. I would think that, from my perspective, that we would like to get that done ASAP.
because, I mean, if I were Hans Hagen, I wouldn't want to put all the money in
I don't think they will
redoing
until the,
everything.
They
Yeah.
won't. It's a legal issue that they have to resolve and resolve quickly, and how, really, that's out of this room.
yep,
And so, I know what you're saying, I agree with you, it's just, we're not part of it.
Well, and that's a council issue, and hopefully it may be resolved in the near future. That's all we should say tonight.
Right.
but they've gotta get both of them, they've gotta get the zoning first.
Sure.
Right.
Well, Nadine,
Yeah.
I don't know what comes first.
But that's what I'm saying. What comes first, chicken or egg?
But what does it matter to us?
What does it matter?
That's not our issue to discuss.
I understand.
Let me go back to the comprehensive plan. If you're gonna recommend approval of the PRD, then the comprehensive plan has to be amended from recreational, commercial for that area to 1 and 2 family. And then, again, the B2 general business, you're not recommending, so you're not recommending a change, you're not recommending a change in the comp plan either at this time. That'd be taken up at the time of resubmittal of an application,
correct.
We are
Understood.
saying we are willing to look at
to
that.
review it.
To review it, not approving,
I
we're
know.
willing to look at it.
But the planned residential development, we're willing to change tonight.
I don't know.
Make a
Comp plan.
recommendation to change.
Well, that's the
tonight.
motion I made, yes.
Right.
So the comp plan is consistent with the zoning.
Right.
Yes.
Understood.
Is that clear now?
Clear as mud.
Well, I think is the mayor's, we need to move on something, knowing there's still a lot of unknowns, but, I mean, there's been a lot of work, and they've been good partners. And I think, as was said before, they're not gonna plan something that's not gonna work for the area.
And I appreciate you taking on the park. I
Who wants
was,
to negotiate some more? on that?
I was,
Reluctant.
was not gonna unstick on that in my mind, so.
Well, we knew that, so, but I think we do need to move, because we don't know what other opportunities could potentially come up. So I think this sounds like the best one we've heard.
But the bottom line is, you have some comfort level, if we can work out a planned commercial district, that we can make that
Yeah,
work.
absolutely.
That's the bottom line for the plan commission.
And we're making a recommendation, the council has to
Right.
go
Yeah,
with this.
and we're only making a recommendation.
Right.
Council can take or modify what.
Or we can make no recommendation, or you can say, no, that isn't what we want to do, so.
Come
No, I
back
call
here
for the
and start all
question.
over again, yeah.
This medium density thing, though, is that come from to us tonight, or is that something for later looking at too? Okay.
That'd
Call
be-
for the question.
it-
Okay. Go ahead and answer, it'll be
Sorry.
later, right?
It'll be later, because that'll be part of the negotiations.
Okay. All right,
Well, there's been a motion and a second.
yep, and a call for the question. I just wanted to make sure, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your hard work.
Any other business or information purposes for upcoming agenda items?
I believe the next plan commission meeting would be tentatively scheduled for May 21st. I just want to apologize, I didn't get the packets out this week. It's been a tough week for me. I had like 12 meetings, and some were pretty intensive discussions on a variety of subjects within the city of Hudson. So my apology for not getting the packet out.
No apology necessary.
I will not be at the May 21st meeting.
Okay,
I move to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Good work.